Hello and welcome to class number 4 of the UPSC Prelims Quick Revision series. I know a lot of you have been watching this series and I really hope that this is helpful for all of you to revise the current affairs of the past 365 days. Today again we'll be taking up a few current affairs that were in the news in the last year, especially from Indian Polity. This is a series that is specifically meant to make you revise about the prelims 2024. Also, if you want the PDF of this lecture, you can become a part of the Telegram channel. The link is given in the description of the video. So without any further wait, let's begin with the first one. We're taking up number 41. So far, 40 topics have already been completed in the past 3 classes. News number 41 is about the e-courts project. The Government of India in the past few years has been giving a lot of focus on using technology when it comes to courts. Under that, an e-court project has been going on for some time now. Now the government has given some budget, or rather a significant budget, for phase 3 of this project. So the cabinet has approved 7,000 crore rupees for this project that has been going on since 2007. So it is much before the present government came to power. The idea was sought in 2006 as a part of the National E-Governance Plan. It is implemented by the Supreme Court, that is responsible for planning, direction and implementation. First phase, as we discussed, was launched in 2007. First phase was about giving computerized servers to judicial data centers, to district courts, and launching the websites of the district courts, even though it may be a basic website. First phase also involved training of court staff and the judicial officers of how to maintain computers, how to take care of how these computer systems, how to input information, so on and so forth. Phase 2 started in the year 2015. It was about covering all those courts that have still not been covered in phase 1. Every court was given LAN connectivity. Also, it was during this phase that the National Judicial Data Grid was launched. Remember in the last class we had discussed how now the Supreme Court also has become a part of the National Judicial Data Grid. So it was a part of phase 2 of the e-courts project. Now phase 3 is coming up. What will phase 3 do? It will now ensure that ease of justice is maximized. The government is trying to go towards paperless courts. So right now, if you have to file a case in the court, there's a lot of paperwork that is involved. You have to submit a lot of files, a lot of documents. Government is trying to get rid of all of that. Also, government is trying to ensure that we can have a smart scheduling system that can recommend schedules of listing of cases based on the availability of judges, lawyers, witnesses, etc. Right now, scheduling of cases is a big pain. For example, a date is given to a specific case. On that date, maybe the lawyer is not available, maybe the assigned judge is not available, maybe some of the witnesses are not available. So it becomes a big problem. This is also one of the reasons why the cases go on for such a long time. So under this third phase of the e-courts project, the idea is to ensure that we can do all of this through technology with as little manual intervention as possible. Next, the idea of All India Judicial Service. Why is it in the news again? Because the President of India said that All India Judicial Service is something that we should look into. It's an idea that, or whose time has rather come. What is the idea all about? So right now, if you look at the judges below the High Court, till Supreme Court, High Court, it is considered that the appointment process is fine. When it comes to district judges, for example, the district judges are appointed by the governor. Now, in order to enter that stage, in order to enter judiciary, as you know, you have to give the PCS examination. The PCS judicial examination as it is called. Now, the PCS examination is conducted separately by different states. So the level of examination may vary. Paper in Assam might be very different as compared to paper, let's say, in Kerala or West Bengal. Also, some states have a lot of vacancies. They have not been able to fill up the vacancy while other states don't. So there is a mismatch between the judicial system of different states. The idea is to make it uniform. Why not ask the UPSC only to conduct an examination so that we can have same level of judges at the district court level, because most of them will go into high courts and we can't afford to have different levels of training, different levels of experience of different district judges. So the idea is, why not launch an All India Judicial Service? UPSC will conduct the examination. They will give separate cadres to the judges, just like it happens in case of All India Services officers. Is it happening right now in India? No. It's an idea that has been debated multiple times, but it has not been implemented for a lot of reasons. Now, you all have read in Indian Polity, how can we create a new All India service? Right now, there are only 3 All India services: IAS, IPS, and IFS. F here stands for Forest. When you say All India service, that means you are given a specific cadre. You work under the state government as well as under the central government. A new All India service can be created. The provision is given in Article 312, which talks about establishment of a new All India service. This is one of the special powers of the Rajya Sabha, because it is the Rajya Sabha that can start this procedure. The idea of All India Judicial Services: judges from lower judiciary will be recruited through centrally held examination. They will be given to different states based on different cadre. Also, All India Judicial Service will not include any post below that of district judge. And the definition of district judge is given in Article 236. Do remember this, UPSC has also asked this in the past. That is, a district judge can be known by different names. Do remember this, again, this has been asked in the past. District judge can also be known as additional district judge, assistant district judge, chief presidency magistrate, depending upon state to state. The nomenclature may differ. Also, this provision of creating a new All India service was not always there. It became a part of the Constitution in 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act, which empowered the Parliament to make a law for creation of new All India service. And again, it has to start at the Rajya Sabha level only. Rajya Sabha, by passing a bill with 2/3 majority of members present and voting, can start the creation. Now, this is where something is interesting and you must remember. Usually, when you talk about 2/3 majority, in usual cases, what you mean to say is 2/3 present and voting along with 50% of total. Right? This is a special majority. This is required, for example, for constitutional amendment. So usually when you say 2/3 majority is required, you mean to say 2 conditions. However, in this case, when the Rajya Sabha can start the creation of a new All India service, we only mean to say the first condition, 2/3 present and voting. The second condition is not present. This is a small fact that you must remember. It again has been asked in the UPSC many years ago. Do remember, in case of Rajya Sabha initiating the process of a new All India service, only 2/3 of present and voting, that's the majority required, not the second part of 50% of total, that is not required. Right now, Article 233 deals with the appointment of the district judges. As you know, district judges are appointed by the governor of the state, and the recommendation is given by the High Court of the state. For this, for creation of a new All India service, you don't have to amend the constitution, because the constitution anyway says under Article 312 that a new All India service may be created in the national interest. Third important news is about an authority called the Digital Publisher Content Grievance Council. Now, the government of India a few months back released rules to regulate OTT platforms. The OTT platforms are apps that you use, Netflix, Amazon Prime, Hotstar, etc. When they began, their content was not regulated by any government agency. Then the government started getting a lot of complaints about the content that is uploaded on these apps. So the government created a 3-level mechanism. There's a 3-level mechanism where people can go and complain. For example, first level will be at the app itself. Let's assume you watched something on Netflix which you did not find appropriate, which you found wrong or incorrect or spreading hatred. First level is you complain to Netflix itself. If they don't resolve it, second level is this. The Digital Publisher Content Grievance Council means the OTT apps have come together, formed a group, and they have created this body. This is the second level which will look into these complaints. If they also don't listen to it, then there will be the government of India that will look into it. So it's a 3-level mechanism that has been set up. One, at that app itself. Second, at this platform created by most of these apps coming together. And third, even if they don't resolve it, then they will take the matter to the government of India. What has happened in this case? The second level body, Digital Publisher Content Grievance Council, is in the news because they gave an order to an app called Ullu to remove certain content that was obscene in nature. How do you define this council? It's an independent self-regulatory body again. It is not that the government is running it. Although it is recognized by the government, by Ministry of Information and Broadcasting, as I said, as level 2 body. Remember I told you it's level 2 body. First level is at the app itself, third level will be with the government. What do? They can register complaints. If you have a complaint against any of the content on these platforms, you think it's not appropriate, you can file a complaint there. This body consists of the publishers of this content, the publishers that are members of the OTT platform, and it also has a grievance redressal board that has a chairman and 6 members. This board is headed by the Supreme Court or High Court judge, and also people who are from this field of entertainment, this industry, who know this business well. This grievance redressal board will oversee all these guidelines that are being met or not. They will resolve the complaints within 15 days. They will also hear complaints and any appeals filed. Apart from that, they aim to make sure that there's a balance between the freedom of content that is being shown and also the nature of the content, that it should not harm the society in a negative manner. Next news important in this year was something called CSTT, that is Commission for Scientific and Technical Terminology. What exactly is this? So basically, people who try and pursue a technical degree in Indian languages, let's assume you try and study engineering in Kannada, Malayalam, Bengali, Gujarati, Bhojpuri. The problem that you might face is that a lot of technical terms can't be translated into these languages. So you have to come back to English. That's a big problem. Now the national education policy says that higher education should be available in your mother tongue also. But the problem is, if there are words that you can't understand in your mother tongue that don't have a specific term for that, you have to keep coming back to English. So to resolve that problem, Commission for Scientific and Technical Terminology has been given a task. The task is to create a technical terminology, kind of a technical dictionary in 10 Indian languages. So they will create a dictionary that will have technical terms that will be used officially in these 10 languages. Do remember that. It will not be a huge dictionary. It's mainly about technical terms. So it's about 5,000 words per language. It will be created in 3 to 4 months. It will be digital in nature. You can search it online. And it will mainly cover 15 disciplines, including chemistry, economics, physics, public administration, journalism, so on and so forth. The idea is, once this dictionary is formed, these words will then also be used at the school level, at the middle and the senior school, so that the children, before going into graduation, are well aware of these terms, because this is in line with the national education policy. Which are these 10 languages that have been chosen? These are the languages: Bodo, Santhali, Dogri, Kashmiri, Konkani, Nepali, Manipuri, Sindhi, Maithili and Sanskrit. These are the 10 languages that have been chosen. It is in these 10 languages that these technical words will be found out and will be composed and a dictionary will be made. Also remember, this commission publishes 2 quarterly journals, one Vigyan Garima Sindhu and Gyan Garima Sindhu. Do remember this as well for the examination point of view. Next, news number 45, something that all of you would be aware of. This year had a lot of news about the election commission. The Lok Sabha elections that are being conducted is one reason why they are in the news. But even before that, the election commission was a lot in the news when it comes to appointment process. Now, election commission is one of the most important constitutional bodies in India. They uphold the Indian democratic process. But there were allegations that the governments appoint the officers who are close to them as election commissioners, because there was no proper procedure, there was no committee, no role of the opposition, no role of anyone from outside the government. So the idea was, there was an appeal filed in the Supreme Court that there should be a role of an independent committee to suggest who shall be the election commissioner. As you know, there was a case filed in the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court said that yes, there should be a 3-member committee, and the Supreme Court made the committee of Prime Minister, Leader of Opposition of the Lok Sabha and the Chief Justice of India. This is the same committee that appoints CBI, or that recommends appointment of CBI director. But the government did not like it, because out of these 3 members, only one was from the government. The government did not have a majority. So the government introduced a new bill to change this, and the Chief Justice of India was removed, replaced by a cabinet minister of the choice of the Prime Minister. So this is the 3-member committee now that shall recommend to the President who shall be the next election commissioners. Some other changes were also made. For example, earlier there was no qualification written as such who can be the election commissioner. Now there is no, I would say, concrete qualification, but at least a rule has been made that the people being appointed as election commissioners should be those who have knowledge and experience in conducting elections and should have held a post equivalent to rank of secretary to the government of India. So basically, very clearly, the IAS officers are the ones who will be eligible. Earlier, there was no such rule. Also, there is a search committee that will be made to shortlist certain names before being given to the selection committee. Search committee will be headed by the cabinet secretary. As you know, cabinet secretary is the highest ranking position of any IAS officer in India, including 2 members not below the rank of the secretary. They will be the one who will shortlist certain names and then they will give this to a 3-member committee. The 3-member committee will look into who can be the perfect candidate. They will recommend that to the President of India and then the President will take a call. Earlier there was no such committee. It was the Prime Minister alone who shall give a name to the President of India and that is how they were appointed. Now a 3-member committee has come into the picture. Also about salary and allowances. The new act says that the salary allowance service condition will be same as cabinet secretary. Now please remember, this has also changed. Earlier, the salary was equal to Supreme Court judge. So that is also a key change that many people are not really talking about. People are only focusing on the 3-member selection committee, but this has also changed. Salary earlier that they used to get was equal to Supreme Court judge. Now, the salary that they would get will be the same as the cabinet secretary to the government of India. One more important issue that has been a lot in the news is the Supreme Court striking down the electoral bonds, calling it unconstitutional. That means that you should know about electoral bonds. Although the scheme has now gone, it is considered unconstitutional. So there are lesser chances of it being asked, lesser chances of the UPSC asking specific details of the scheme. But even then, let's not take a chance since it's such an important topic. Let's quickly revise what most of you would already know. Electoral bond scheme came up in 2018. It was a method for an Indian citizen or an Indian company to donate money to political parties. What you had to do, you had to go to the State Bank of India, designated branches only. You would give them money, show them your identification, give them money, for example, let's say 10,000 rupees. They will give you a bond in return. The bond will not carry your name. That's why it's called a bearer bond. Bearer bond means the person who holds it, the person who bears it, he is the owner of it. So a bearer bond will be given and then you can give it to the political party of your choice. The only condition is that political party should be a recognized party. The only condition was that the party of your choice should have gotten at least 1% votes in the last general elections. There were multiple laws that were changed to introduce electoral bond scheme. Finance Act was changed, the Representation of People Act was amended, even the Companies Act was amended, and there were many other issues with the bond. For example, before this, company who needed to donate money could only donate maximum of 7.5% of their average profit of last 3 years. Again, maximum donation that a company could make was, in the last 3 years, whatever profit they made, take an average of the 3 years, and 7.5% of that was the maximum donation. Means, in other words, only a profit-making company could donate money. But now this was removed. Even companies who are not even making a profit could now donate money. That is, again, a big loophole because it indicates that somewhere it would lead to shell companies coming up just for the purpose of donation of money. Anyways, until it has been proven, we will not put any allegations. Also, electoral bonds will be accepted only in Indian rupees. You cannot get or you could not get any loan against electoral bonds as such. Once it is purchased, it cannot be cancelled and no amount was to be refunded to the purchaser after buying of the bond. Electoral bonds, there was a specific value in multiples of which you could buy it. 1,000, 10,000, lakh, 10 lakh, 1 crore rupees. There is no maximum limit for donation, but this is the multiple in which you could buy. For example, if you say I want to donate 5,200 rupees, no, you cannot. Minimum it has to be multiple in 1000. So 5000, 6000, 7000. That is how you could do that. In order to buy electoral bond, you had to give your identification document in SBI, that is a KYC. So for example, you had to show your Aadhaar card, etc. Again, the bond will not have your name, but you have to do KYC with the SBI. That was in fact a major issue, that since SBI will know your identity and it is a bank owned by the government can obviously get to know who bought the bond, who did not buy the bond. Opposition parties, on the other hand, cannot know this information. That is why there was a big mismatch. There was no limit on number of bonds that any individual or company can buy. The only condition was only an Indian citizen or an Indian company can buy the bond. It's not that you can buy them 365 days in a year. There were specific days, about first 10 days of Jan, April, July and October in each year. In some branch of SBI that you could buy that. Nearby the elections, SBI used to offer them on other days as well. But usually these were the days on which the bonds could be bought. Next, news number 47. This is the news about unique land parcel identification number. Now, in rural India specifically, there's a big problem of land encroachment. There's a big problem. People take ownership or claim ownership of each other's land. They are not sure where the land ends, where the land begins. There's a lot of forgery also in paperwork. People illegally occupy your land. So to get rid of all those problems, the government started this scheme that every land parcel will be given a unique identification number, so that it is easy to identify which land parcel belongs to whom. So it's a digitalization project meant to ensure that there is clarity about the ownership records, and if there is any problem about the ownership, it can be resolved very, very easily. This project is being run by Digital India Land Record Modernization Program, implemented by Department of Land Resources under the Ministry of Rural Development. This is also called as a Bhu Aadhaar. Do remember that? It's called as a Bhu Aadhaar. This is a 14-digit alphanumeric unique ID that will be given to a single land parcel. Also, the reason for this is that in rural India, most of the cases that come to the court are about land encroachment or land occupation, legal or illegal. That can also be resolved with the help of this. Entire country will have one single registry of all these land IDs. It's not divided state-wise as such. A big role is also being played by the Department of Science and Technology and National Remote Sensing Center. They will also make sure that they can identify the lands very, very easily. This is a bit of other information. It will help you provide the exact location of the plot. This is also important. For example, if you're a farmer and your crops have gone bad, you have to claim insurance, or the bank is after you to pay back the loan and you have to claim insurance that, see, my crops have gone bad, there were floods. It's very easy with the help of this ID that you can give this ID. This is my plot. This is where I had grown all my cultivation. You can now go and check it out that it has been ruined by the weather. So that is also where it will be very, very helpful. Similarly, there is next news, especially from Haryana. What Haryana government has done, going apart from or going beyond individual identification number like Aadhaar card, Haryana has also introduced something called Parivar Pehchan Patra. Those who don't know Hindi, Parivar means family, Pehchan means identification. So basically what they are doing is they are giving an identification number to the families. Why? There are a lot of government schemes that are family wise. So for example, Ayushman Bharat scheme, it's family wise. The government of India gives the free food grain scheme, that is also family wise. The Antyodaya Yojana is family wise, 35 kg of food grains. So it's important to identify one family as well as a unit. That is how Haryana government started the Parivar Pehchan Patra scheme first in the year 2020. Now it has been divided once again. This scheme will provide a 8-digit identification number to families that reside in Haryana as a single unit. Also, this scheme will help you to avail government facilities without any paper, without any other documentation, so that you are identified just on the basis of this 8-digit identification number. Next important news, appointment of the DGP. DGP is the highest position of state police officer. So if you're in the state of Punjab, for example, Punjab DGP is the head of the police in Punjab. Now, what has happened is, obviously the state governments would want to control how the DGP is appointed. If he is the highest ranked police officer, they would obviously want to make sure that it is their guy who is sitting at that post. What happened was, the famous Prakash Singh case, in which the Supreme Court gave some guidelines about police reforms, the Supreme Court had changed the method of DGP appointment. So what is the method? I'll tell you right now. The method is, let's say Punjab has to appoint a new DGP. They will forward some names to the UPSC, the same UPSC, that is the Union Public Service Commission. So Punjab, for example, will give some names to UPSC. UPSC, out of all those names, will shortlist 3 names and give it back to Punjab. Now the government can appoint a DGP only from these 3 names. That is what the Supreme Court had said, and this is the process being followed even today. State gives certain names to UPSC. UPSC shortlists 3 names, gives it back to the state, and then state has to appoint out of those 3. Governments are obviously not happy. Why? Because they want a free hand in appointing whoever they want. So now some states are finding a loophole. The loophole is, many states are not even appointing a DGP. See, politicians are very smart. So if, let's say, there is a DGP who has retired in the state, they will not appoint a new DGP. They will appoint an officer and they will call in the acting DGP. That he is not a permanent DGP, he is just the acting DGP. Now, because Supreme Court did not say anything about acting DGP, they have found a loophole, and this acting DGP works for a long time. So now Supreme Court has also spoken against it. Anyways, Punjab said that we are fed up of this. Punjab government passed a law saying that no, we will be the one who will appoint the DGP. Now there are questions over that. The questions, for example, are, can a state government pass a law to override a Supreme Court judgment? Because it was a Supreme Court judgment about how DGP will be appointed, the role of the UPSC. Can a state government pass a law to overrule what the Supreme Court said? There is still not much clarity over that. The matter was appealed in the Supreme Court. It has not been decided so far, but it remains to be seen whether or not it is allowed. Because if it is allowed, obviously then every state will do that. Every state is looking towards Punjab that, oh, Supreme Court allowed you, and we will also do that. So it remains to be seen. As I told you, the Supreme Court's new method of DGP appointment came up in the famous Prakash Singh case. This case is very well known for police reforms in India. Prakash Singh himself was a retired DGP. He filed a case in the Supreme Court about police reforms. As I told you, UPSC will send back 3 names. Out of the 3 names, the state government would have to choose one of them as a DGP. Supreme Court also said, once a DGP is appointed, they should have a tenure of at least 2 years. There's a removal process also for the DGP. They can be removed by the state government, but only after consulting the State Security Commission, and then action can be taken against the DGP in the All India Service Rules if some criminal activity or corruption is something that the person has indulged in. So the state government can remove the DGP, but not on their own whims and fancies. For the state government to remove the DGP, they will have to consult the State Security Commission specifically. These are the 2018 guidelines that the Supreme Court had given. Supreme Court had said that the concept of acting DGP should not continue because many states, as I said, use this loophole. They did not appoint a DGP, they rather appointed an acting DGP. Supreme Court said that no, this should not be done. Supreme Court also said, before your DGP is supposed to retire, at least 3 months before the retirement, you should send the names to the UPSC. Because many state governments said, oh, we don't have a DGP, we have to appoint someone who is the acting DGP. Supreme Court said you should not delay. 3 months before your DGP is supposed to retire, you should send the names to the UPSC so that they can shortlist and send you 3 names back, and then you can appoint the officer of your choice from those 3. The last news for today's class is the Bihar caste survey that was a lot in the news. The reason being, a lot of states, a lot of political parties have been demanding that we want a caste-based census. Central government has not agreed to it. So the loophole that has been found in Bihar is Bihar conducted its own survey. Remember, Bihar did not call it a census because census can only be conducted by the Central government. So the state government conducted a survey. The reason being that in India's census, we don't take consideration of caste. In the census, you get numbers of scheduled castes and scheduled tribes, but other caste groups are not covered. Means there is no way to know what is the exact OBC population in India, because the census does not cover that number. So OBC population exact cannot be found out in India. The last census which gave the numbers caste based in India was a 1931 census. So no census of independent India has given these numbers. In 1941 also, caste based data was collected, but it was never really made public. So a lot of political parties who think that if caste based numbers come out, it will help their politics, it will help their vote bank. Many of those parties have been demanding. You see, the Congress in the entire election campaigning has been saying that once we come to power, we'll have a caste based survey. That is the entire idea. Now again, the state governments, if they do it, they'll call it a survey, because census is something that comes within the center government and the state governments can't make a census. Also, entry number 45 in the concurrent list does allow the state governments also to collect statistics information about their population. That is why what Bihar government did cannot be called as unconstitutional. In fact, there was a challenge in the Supreme Court about what Bihar government is doing by undertaking this survey. Their argument again was that the constitution does allow us as a part of the concurrent list to take up such matters and we can find out some information. You don't have to read exactly about the details of the survey. If you are sitting in, let's say, Bihar PCS exam, then you have to remember details of the survey, how many OBCs, how many different castes have been found out. For the UPSC exam, you don't have to go into detail of the findings of the survey because it is a state specific thing. So you can ignore that. That brings you to the end of class number 4. Next class also will be of Indian polity, and then we'll end Indian polity subject or topics other, and then we'll move on to some other topic in the next classes. Also, if you want to get the PDF of this lecture, join the Telegram channel. The link is in the description of the video. Do keep watching all of these other initiatives as well, so that the mains, answer writing and PSIR videos, do watch that also. Thank you so much. Have a good day ahead. Bye bye.